Okay, we are live and recording.
Amy, did you get back with your audio?
I'm trying to right now.
Well, whatever you've done works.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, it's just 6 p.m. We'll call this village board meeting to order. We'll begin with a moment of silence. Thank you, and a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And for all.
Madam Clerk, can you take the roll, please? Can't hear you again, Amy.
Hold on 1 second. Calling right now from the phone.
You know, Amy, Elaine got in perfectly last night. First try. Just saying.
Ever?
Hmm? Alex Rabin. Amy, are you there?
I'm typing in the password again.
Oh, okay.
When you talk from wherever you are right now, everybody can hear you.
I haven't moved.
Well, try to take the roll.
Quick! Trustee Mann?
Present.
Trustee Gerber? Trustee Caro?
Present.
Trustee Detmer?
Here.
Trustee Churchill?
Present.
Trustee Mao?
Matt Mao told me he's not going to be able to make it.
Okay, is Gerber there?
I haven't seen Gerger yet.
No, he's not.
Okay, just making sure because I making sure with my audio that I couldn't hear it.
All right.
Only Kim Z.
Also present. All right. We had no public announcements or public comments emailed in with regard to this meeting. So, Trustee Mann, could I have a motion to put the consent agenda on the table?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Detmers, can I have a second? Second. Any questions or discussion regarding the minutes or the warrants?
Yes, the minutes look good. The warrants, I still have an issue with. I don't know if you guys could please pull it up and explain my issue. The fifth page of the PDF. what I'm looking at, it shows page 11. Is that the same that it shows for you guys?
The fifth page on mine says page 2. Right, so what
Page
Paul
1,
has is the
page 2,
because the first 2 pages
page
is,
1.
or the first set is pages 1 through 3, and then it starts over, so it's 1 through 12.
I'm pulling them down from Word Docs right now, so are you guys logged in, or what are you doing differently?
7.
That's not logged in.
I'm logged in and it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, page 1, page, then page 3, page 4. So,
Yeah, it's 1, 2, and then 1, and then 1 through 12, okay?
1, 11.
It's 1, 2, and then 1, and then 1 through 12.
Okay, all I take from voting, I haven't looked at page 2. I've tried several times today and don't know what to tell you.
Sometimes the different web browsers react funny with these PDFs, especially,
Robert Springer.
yeah.
Has joined the meeting.
Okay. So, Madam Clerk, would you take a roll?
Trustee Mann,
Yes.
Trustee Gerger, Trustee Charo,
Yes.
Detmers,
No.
Trustee Churchill,
I'm going to vote present.
Village Member Lindsay,
Yes.
you hear me?
Yes. Record me as a yes.
Okay.
Attorney Mordock is the majority.
Amy, can you please read back the yeses?
Yep. Trustee Mann was a yes. Sarah was a yes. Detmers was no. Churchill was present, and President MD was a yes.
It was voted on by a majority of those present, so yes, it passes.
Thank you. No old business under new business. Item 1 is an ordinance authorizing village expenditures pending adoption of an annual appropriation ordinance. Trustee Charles, can I have a motion?
I will make that motion.
Trustee Detmers, can I have a second?
A second.
This ordinance essentially is a continuing appropriation of our current budget into next year, continuing appropriation and expenditure authority. Anybody have any questions regarding what we're doing? Madam Clerk, would you?
Trustee Mann,
Yes.
Trustee Charo,
Yes.
Detmers,
Yes.
Trustee Churchill,
Yes.
Item 2 is a resolution accepting the resignation of Lee Bloom as the Village of Chatham Water Commissioner from the South Sangamon Water Commission and appointing Dave Johnson as the Village's Water Commissioner. Trustee Detmers, could I have a motion to bring this to the table?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Churchill, can I have a second?
Second.
Lee is in the process of moving with his fiancee, and would no longer be eligible to be our representative. However, last night the county board took action to appoint Lee as the county representative. Dave Johnson is also currently on the board, who was previously the county's representation, is a Chatham resident. So essentially all we've done is switched who's been appointed by whom. Any questions regarding this? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Trustee Mann,
Yes.
Charo,
Yes.
Trustee Detmer,
Yes.
trustee Churchland.
Yes.
Item 3 is an ordinance approving the final plat of Spartan Park Minor Subdivision. Trustee Churchland, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Mann, can I have a second?
Yeah, I will second.
This ordinance accepts the minor subdivision, the exhibit which is laid out of Spartan Park. Engineer Jim Michaels did an overview of this at the last committee meeting, I believe. Plan Commission met last week to offer their recommendation to approve, which follows the recommendation of approval from staff engineering. Pat is here if you have any questions. Also, it appears that the attorney for the petitioner, Alex Raven, is also on, should there be any questions.
Also, the realtor and also the owner is online, so.
Gotcha. Did anybody have any questions regarding this?
Yeah, I have a question and an amendment to the ordinance. I don't know which one you want first.
Go ahead, Dewey.
The question that I have pertains to the easement to access the drive. If there were to be some issue in the future that easement is needed to access the roadway, there's an existing agreement, right, that allows for that today. Does that agreement have an expiration date, or is it in perpetuity currently?
I believe the answer to your question, Dewey, the existing agreement, let me paraphrase to make sure I heard you right. There's an existing agreement to use the current driveway, and you're asking if it's past perpetuity?
Correct. Yeah, does the easement have an end date at this point? I understand that it can be resolved in the future.
We'll let Attorney Raven, if he wants to chime in here on if it's a date to that, and he'll tell you the agreement is drafted as permanent. It doesn't have a specific end date at this time, but what you also see when you look at that plat, it looks like there's a flagpole off on the end of it. That's the alternate access point.
And I read from Jim that would have to be established if that easement were dissolved.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry.
Go ahead, Deanna.
The only other thing that I had is the proposed amendment to the ordinance. In the middle of page 2, it shows, it reads, the Planning Commission unanimously recommends approving the final plat. I don't think that's correct based on my understanding.
So the suggestion would be just to strike unanimously.
Correct.
Do we have a second to that amendment? Churchill.
Yeah.
And then I don't think there's any discussion needed there. Be any further amendments to the
No further amendments for me.
or discussion regarding this in general?
I would just like a report out on what was said at the planning.
Pat, you want to give a summary from the Planning Commission?
What was the question?
A summary from the planning.
The summary of the Planning Commission is they accepted the plat as presented. They had no problems with it. One member voted no, but I don't think he had a problem with the plat as much as he had a problem with the presenter. That's speculation on my part.
Conjecture aside, the Planning Commission's recommendation follows that of staff and our engineer, Jim Michael. Anything further? Madam Clerk, can you take a vote on the amendment?
Trustee Mann,
Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmer.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Okay, and then a vote to accept the amended ordinance.
Yep. Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmer.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Okay. No further business. We had no public comments submitted. Planning Commission is scheduled for 6 p.m. April 16th. Village Board, April 28th, 6 p.m. And again, May 12th at 6 p.m. The committee will follow 6:15 or thereafter on May the 12th. Utility Oversight Subcommittee scheduled for 6 p.m. June 8th. No closed session from this meeting. So Trustee Manager, motion to adjourn, please.
I will make that motion.
And Trustee Charo, can I have a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, for clarity, would you take a roll?
Yep. Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmer.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes.
Okay. Meeting stands adjourned. And by my clock, we're past 6:15, so whomever is going to lead the committee of the whole meeting, I believe you're ready to go.
We hadn't talked yet.
Trustee Churchill, you want to lead the committee of the whole meeting?
Sure. Do we need a formal motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a
I'll make
motion.
I'll make the motion
Okay, I have.
to appoint Paul.
Someone's going to second that?
Yes.
Okay, so I have down for Paul to be chairman of this, city meeting.
All right. Thank you, Clerk. Call the committee of the whole meeting to order at 6:19. Would you take roll calls, Clerk?
Trustee Mann.
Present.
Trustee Charo.
Present.
Trustee Detmer.
Here.
This is terrible.
Trustee Churchill.
You can't
Present.
hear shit.
And then, Pat, we don't have any public comments that were emailed in.
No, you do not.
All right, thank you. The minutes, Trustee Detmer, can I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Sorry, I'm making a motion. Approve consent agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because the
Trustee
sound's.
Charles, can I have a
I
second?
will second.
Or thank Trustee Mann, second. Any comment on the minutes? Seeing none, clerk, will you take roll?
Trustee Mann.
Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmer.
Yes.
Trustee Churchill.
Yes. All right, and seeing no old business, we move to new business. First up, recommendations for appointments, reappointments to village boards and commissions. Pat, you want to take it away here?
A participant has left the meeting.
Pat, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Paul, I'll get it. May 1 is when the appointment cycle and schedule runs for our various boards and commissions of the village. A few months back, you recall, we had put out a call for anyone who was
Has
interested.
left the meeting.
Anyone that was interested in volunteering for these committees, as well as querying existing members on if they had an interest and willingness to continue. So, what the recommendations will be for the May 1 terms for the Police Pension Board is to reappoint Chris Parks. The Fire and Police Commission would be to reappoint Terry Wood. Both those come with the suggestion and endorsements from the police officers and the members represented through those committees. On the Planning Commission, a reappointment of Dave Johnson, a reappointment of John Sturgeon. Nancy Doherty, who is currently on it, is not able to continue up. Rob Waller, who is currently a member of the Planning Commission, is unable with his work commitments to continue. So the recommendations from those that have applied is John Moore and Mark Bingaman. If you're logged on to the Word docs in the administrative sections, you can see the resumes and interest levels from those two gentlemen. I have no changes on the Public Property Committee. The Zoning Board of Appeals, current members Ryan Vaughn and Anthony Tolliver to be reappointed. Sarah Albrock is not going to continue and will have still a vacancy there. If anybody has someone who's interested, please forward that name to me. And then without going too far, because the utility oversight is actually a committee from the board, it's my understanding that both Mr. Lewis and Mr. Packelhoff will be reappointed. So any questions regarding those?
Okay.
There is more to request the police commission of the Public Properties Commission. I assume somebody's spoken to him about alternatively going to the Planning Commission.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
All right, so if you're good with all of those, could I make a suggestion that you make a move to put all of those appointments and reappointments as part of the consent agenda at the next board meeting?
Trustee Detmer, do you make that motion?
Sure. I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mann, would you second?
I will second.
Thank you. Do we want a roll call vote?
I don't think we need to at committee, but I can still do it. Trustee Mann,
Yes.
trustee Carl,
Yes.
trustee Detmer,
Yes.
trustee Churchill.
Okay, Trustee Scherzel, before you move away, while we're still in this section, the other thing that we typically do this time of year is we put the call out to the citizens for nominations for the volunteer year. You recall 4 years ago now, volunteer drive was dedicated through community park, and each year someone from Chatham is recognized as our volunteer of the year and gets an honorary name. Now is the time of the year where we're making announcements that if you have a nomination for volunteer of the year, please write that and submit it via email. We'll use Pat's email again this year to collect all of them. So that's T. McCarthy at chathamil.com.
Okay, thanks, Dave. All right, anything else on that topic? No. Okay. CMT engineering update. Do you have anything from Jim, Pat?
I have not, so I don't think he called in to see.
I don't hear you, Pat.
Yeah, you what? Oh. I don't think Jim has called in this evening. But I can give an update. They did finish the work on near Candy Court over in Glenwood Lakes subdivision. The tube has been put in and the road's been repaired. And on the warrants tonight was the bill. And he is working currently on the drainage problem that we have down in South Park and trying to come up with first off a short-term solution and then be able to incorporate that into a long-term solution for down there. And that's it for engineering right now.
All right, thank you. We can move right next to the manager update. You want to keep going?
First off, on the village manager update, Shane Hill is on the line and he's going to explain to you about 2 electric projects that we would like to do right after we get the budget in place for the next fiscal year. So, Shane, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, Shane.
Hi there, how we doing? Yeah, that first is the IMEA Energy Efficiency Program. We have the money left in that this year to proceed. We've got a little over $25,000 in there from IMEA. I've requested this grant for $25,500 to cover the cost of the capacitor and part of the material and the labor involved with installing. I think as you can see, yeah, that was just that first page. The total labor cost, or the total cost of the project is $34,500, and this was 75% of that project. And IMEA is going to reimburse us the 75% once the project has been completed.
You want to tell them a little bit what fixing the or changing the capacitors out entails?
Yeah, this is for a capacitor bank. It's for a pad mount. This will sit outside the independent substation. Basically, what it's for is it's going to help us correct our power factor for that substation. Power factor, the easiest way to explain power factor is, you have to forgive the analogy, but like a glass of beer. The kVA, the amount of power that we use, basically is the glass. The beer is the kW, and the foam is the kVAR. So basically, the capacitors correct the kVAR. This corrects our power factor. It basically gives us more beer in the glass to use, more foam.
Shane, I appreciate your ability to translate.
Yeah. I hope.
Yeah, that's an old school analogy for the power factor. They teach that in every class that I've ever been in for power factor. So.
I hope Joe Pritchett uses that description. So.
I hope not. But that is actually how it is explained in class.
Okay. Well, there you go. That gets a visual.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else with that?
Yeah, there's another project, and
then the other one is the other project is this material bid for the 21 fiscal year 21 for our transformers and wire and stuff. You'll see an added cost in there for the for 350 copper wire, 350 CE wire. I'm not sure if you can see it very well or not. That in the 600 amp fuse cabinets. So that's to finish the loop feed that we have for Fox Creek subdivision. Majority of Fox Creek subdivision has been in for over 25 years now. When they sold off the remaining part of that subdivision, and they're not planning on developing it, we lost our ability to loop the three-phase power in there. So this 350 is basically going to be the loop, but it will be off of Mansion Road instead of off of Savannah where it was originally planned.
Okay.
and
That'll be for fuse cabinets will be out there. This is in place of me setting poles along Mansion Road and doing underground gyms like what you see over at Piper Glen. This is all for underground. There won't be any poles along Mansion Road unless you folks later on want me to start lighting up Mansion Road once it develops a little more.
Okay. So I wanted you guys to see these two projects. This one here specifically, we've been talking about doing for quite a while. Shane was able to get good bids for it right now, and our crews should be able to do all the work. So we will have an ordinance at the next meeting requesting that you accept the bids and that we can move forward on this project. Actually, for both of them, to tell you the truth. So.
Yep. Everything will be able to be done by the Village of Chatham other than the board.
Okay. Any other questions?
Other than that, that's it.
Thanks, Pat and Shane.
I think Sherry's next.
Okay. Transferring appropriation authority between line items and adopting supplemental appropriations for fiscal year 2020.
Yes, this is our 2020 appropriation transfer and supplemental appropriation ordinance. We will be, this is something that we do each year. So this is our final amendment to our fiscal year 2020 budget, and there's a couple of supplemental appropriations that we'll be doing. And one of them will be for the Yard Waste Recycling and Refuse Fund in the amount of $55,000. This appropriation needed to be raised to account for costs associated with the green program, capital lease, purchase of the street sweeper. It exceeded the original budgeted amount, but it was approved. The transaction was approved through Ordinance 1928, so we're just accounting for something we've already approved. And then in lease and public works utility tax fund, we have a supplemental amount of $3,000. Again, we had a capital lease transaction that came in slightly more than we had anticipated at the beginning of the fiscal year. Other than that, the general fund, electric fund, and water and sewer fund, there's just been a slight movement between those funds within departments to get the line items in check. So that's about all I have on the appropriation transfer and supplemental appropriation ordinance. There'll be an ordinance prepared for the next meeting. And is there any questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
No, sounds good to me.
I think so. I'll make sure that I review before our next meeting.
I will as well. Thank you, Sherry. All right, anything else, Sherry?
No, that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next,
You're welcome.
thanks. The Public Property and Recreation Committee discussion. Trustee Detmers, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So, unfortunately, we've not met since our last committee of the whole meeting. We did, as you may recall, at the last committee of the whole meeting, I think Trustee Churchill and I received some comments with respect to the dog park, and we had offered to walk the streets of the affected areas, for the surrounding areas, I should say. And unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic hit at that same time, so we've yet to walk through those streets and ask the residents how they feel about the dog park. I do believe that Dustin Patterson and Ryan Crawford are also working to draw up the final drawing of the dog park, and that would be helpful when having those discussions. So if COVID doesn't ease up, then we may go to those residents by mail just to, again, try to understand their position on the dog parks. So that's my update there. The other thing is that I did hear from a resident near Westside Park, and she had expressed some concerns with respect to the lack of lighting at the park, especially in the parking lot, and that it gets really dark back there, and there are typically, or not typically, there are occasionally cars that hang out back there, and she was a little bit disturbed by that. So I reached out to Village Manager McCarthy and also Shane Hill just to talk about what possibilities exist, and Shane had gotten back to me very quickly, so I appreciate that, just with the drawing of where things exist today and how those could be supplemented to provide some lighting to the park. I think we have a little bit of an issue because if the dog park were to be installed, the lighting recommendations from Shane may change depending on the position and the needs of the dog park. And the other thing that I think we need to consider is, while this resident may have an interest in additional lighting, other residents may be opposed to that. So I think the village and this board need to consider those items, but there was that safety concern brought forth, and I think it's yet to be decided on as far as I'm aware. I don't know, Pat or Shane, if you guys have anything you want to talk about the lighting issue, or where do you think we would go from here as far as satisfying that inquiry?
Well, I think for the lighting issue back there, you guys will need to decide what you're actually going to do with that park. Right now, it's just basically a lane with a little bit of parking for the baseball fields. So depending on what you're going to do with the parking lots, what you're going to do with that drive lane, like I explained to Dewey earlier, there was lighting back there along those utility poles, but those were for the customers there, that they were paying for a security lights for their backyard. I believe there's only 3 people that actually have a security light that still want the light. Everybody else had requested to remove them all. And then you're going to also have lighting back there along Buckingham. If I'm not sure, whenever you look at the overhead drawing on it, there's a pretty good distance. There's probably going to be at least 100 and some odd feet between the backyards of Buckingham to where your dog park's going to be, or where any fencing or of any kind is going to be. So lighting up the folks on Long Buckingham is not really going to do the park any good, and it would probably upset a few of those people that have already requested to remove those lights from their backyard. So, like I said, you guys will have to, once you guys decide what you want to do with the park, you let me know, and then I will design the lighting for it the best I can, and we can go from there.
Yeah, I would say we want to be very careful with adding lighting back there, because I think we have the potential of causing us a bigger problem than a security issue. I mean, for a security issue, I would tend to ask the night patrolman to make maybe run through there 2 or 3 times more a night, if that's possible, to ease the security concerns.
One incident.
But we'll have to see what plays out with the design of the park overall.
Yeah, and if you guys want to put like some lighting up along the corners of the parking lot, as long as you're not going to change the parking lot, then whatever funds that the park has to install those lights would be fine. But unless you actually have a design of what you want there, and you vote on it, it's going to be, if we install them and then you want us to change it, it's just going to be double bill and everything. So I would suggest to wait until the park is decided upon.
Trustee Detmers, or do you have anything?
No, I think, again, I just, wanted to respond to the resident, and that's what I'll advise. It sounds like the board is not an objection to that. So I just don't know what our lighting policy is for parks. And again, I can see how some residents might be upset by having new lighting in there, but I assume that we had some ability to have some directional lighting potentially too. So I think I agree with you that we should wait and see what we end up doing with the dog park, and hopefully the drawing will help with that conversation. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Detmers. The next item is the Utility Oversight Committee discussion. Since Trustee Gerger is not here, I can provide a brief update, and Pat, if you want to fill in if I missed anything. But we had the chairman of SSWC with us on the WebEx. He provided an update both on the bonding and the chloramines. They've got some things still to do with chloramines. I know there were some things Trustee Gerger asked about in terms of an insurance claim that, for a transfer switch that was filed. And then with the bonding, that is, President Kinsey, I'm sure you can weigh in on this as well, but that with the fluctuations in the market, that's still in process. So they're waiting for some of the basis points and seeing the reaction of the market. But so that's also has not been finalized. And Chairman Bloom had also reported out about the COVID, the procedures out at SSFC, how they're alternating shifts and disinfecting and, returning each of the 3 colleagues that work out there, just their plans in place as we all are, and adjusting to COVID and as they run the plant. Those were the 3 main points I had that Lee Bloom had brought up. Pat, what am I missing? I know you talked about the customer insurance manual that the board is aware of.
I just clarified that we are not shutting people off. We are not putting late fees on utility bills, and that if anybody has any questions on their bill or any concerns, that the girls in the office are there to be able to help them.
Yeah, reiterate that, anyone has any issues, any of our residents to call the office, they'll work with them. And Trustee Gerger in the meeting last night reiterated if they have any issues, but one of the trustees, one of the utility members know. It sounds like, Pat, that they only had a few calls in there and they didn't work with all of those who did call. So that's, so far. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. I think that was it from our Utility Oversight Committee discussion. No other public comments?
If you guys have any questions about that project on Mansion Road, feel free to call me or email me. I'll fill you on everything I've got.
Okay. Thanks, Shane. Saying that we
No
don't
one's
have
called in
comments?
with any comments for village business.
No comments?
No comments.
Okay, thanks. Scheduled meetings, Committee of the Whole, 6:15, May 12th. No closed session for the committee. Trustee, seeing none. Trustee Charo, can I have a motion to adjourn? Trustee Mann, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make the motion to adjourn this meeting.
Trustee Detmers, can I have a second?
A second.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank
Thank you.